today, February 25th, marks the first anniversary of President Park's inauguration. In a televised address to the nation that wrapped up about an hour ago, the president laid out details of her previously pledged three-year economic innovation plan.
And to give us the details of what was included in her plan, we now connect live to our presidential correspondent, Eoh Jin-joo, at the presidential office of Cheong Wa Dae. So, Jin-joo, what were some of the goals President Park put forth this morning?
President Park first vowed to raise the nation's potential growth rate to above 4% by the year 2017 through her economic reform plan. Now, the president unveiled three key goals of this plan. Those are an economy with strong fundamentals, and an innovative and dynamic economy, and an economy that balances domestic demand and exports. The president said she will start by rooting out abnormal policies and wrong practices, especially in the public sector, that have been overlooked in past administrations. Abnormal practices include lax management, high debt levels, and all sorts of corruption. President Park pledged to reduce and cap the debt ratio of public institutions at 200%, which is the upper limit for private companies to issue corporate bonds. The Korea Land and Housing Corporation, for example, which has debts of more than $128 billion, had a debt ratio of over 400% as of last year. The president also laid out measures to protect employees and restore fairness in the economy. She promised to reduce the income gap between permanent and temporary workers and strengthen the requirements for layouts. The president vowed to gradually expand the unemployment insurance to cover owner-operators, artists, and day-to-day workers.
So, Jin-joo, let's go over her pledge for an innovative and dynamic economy.
Yes, President Park's push for a so-called creative economy comes as an important part of her goal towards an innovative economy. Now, she pledged to invest a total of $3.7 billion to create a better business environment for the country's startups and venture firms over the next 3 years, and also increase investment in research and development to 5% of the country's GDP by the year 2017. The Korean government also aims to expand its free trade agreements with other countries to cover 70% of the entire world market. Currently, the FTAs Korea has with other countries cover about 55% of the world's GDP. Now, for a balanced economy, President Park emphasized the importance of boosting domestic demand. How? The president pointed to lowering the nation's mounting household debt and solving the skyrocketing jeonse prices, a lump sum payment for long-term housing rental. She pledged to reduce the country's household debt ratio by 5 percentage points by 2017 by handing out tax benefits and introducing fixed interest rates and level debt services for mortgage loans. Another important key to boosting domestic demand, according to President Park, is job creation. Now, her plan includes creating 500,000 jobs for young people and 1.5 million jobs for women.
And Jin-joo, the president also unveiled plans to prepare for an era of a unified Korea.
Yes, the Park administration will set up a presidential reunification preparation committee to work towards a, quote, systematic and constructive reunification. Now, the committee will be in charge of preparing for a reunification on the Korean peninsula and expanding inter-Korean exchanges and dialogues. Experts and civic groups in various sectors of foreign affairs, security, economy, and culture will be joining the committee to come up with a specific blueprint of a unified Korea. Now, following the address, President Park is presiding over an economic ministers meeting to discuss specific measures for her three-year economic plan.
Okay, Jin-joo, thank you for that report. That was our presidential correspondent, Eoh Jin-joo, reporting on President Park's three-year economic innovation plan that she laid out this morning.